What's up, humans, and welcome to a new Psicoactivo. Happy Sunday, everybody. Okay, so I just came in from the outside. I went to visit my uncle, did some family stuff, and I realized that I was named at one of the reality checks. I don't know if Ross knows that it was me who asked a question, but he said this. Check it out.
It comes from your Twitter, specifically your retweet of Matthew Pines from Skywatcher. He was teasing part 2 was coming soon. Pavel says, have you personally seen some of this stuff? Any initial...
So they missed an L. But this was a tweet from Pines where he basically said that he was like excited of Skywatcher and the work they were doing and about the paper and all that. And I asked him this, but Ross is going to respond also. So here it is.
cryptic thoughts about it?
I haven't seen it, Pavel, but by the time this Q&A goes to air, you will be hearing from Jake Barber and Matthew Pines in a special reality check where we do a definitive interview with the pair of them talking about what's about to come. There's going to be an unveiling of dramatic new vision, new video from Skywatcher, I think on the 7th of April, which I suspect is after this program will be going to air. And that video is talked about by Jake and Matthew in a reality check, which is probably about to go up or has already gone up at the time of the posting of this Q&A.
Okay. Thank you, Ross, for the response. But the response I got from Matthew, he spoke to me before that interview was released, which we've already seen. I still go back and watch it again a couple of times because there were a bunch of things that I just wanted to hear properly and understand properly. But what Matthew responded when I asked him that was that he was intrigued by all the different shapes of these UAP that have been like documented already. That really surprised me. And well, we just have to wait a few hours now because it's Sunday 5 p.m. Pacific right now as I record this, and tomorrow, presumably by this time tomorrow, we're already going to have the episode 2 of the Skywatcher presentations, and we're going to see video. I did see that Jake told everyone that they shouldn't be that excited about it, but because it's not going to be like a close-up thing. But we'll see. Let's see what sensors are used and all that. Okay. But from this Q&A that happened this morning, and thank you, Ross, for the response, I wanted to talk about something that I've been wanting to talk about for a while now. Do you guys remember when Colonel Karl Nell spoke at the SALT conference and he mentions the two first names he mentions as part of the data that associates with people within high places in the government telling the rest of the world that we're not alone or that it's worth looking into? The first two names he mentioned were Paul Hellyer and Haim Eshed. And Hellyer was part of the Canadian government, very high up. And Mr. Eschet was the person who ran the Israeli space program for 30 years. So this guy, I wanted to look into what was said by him. And it was in an article from NBC News. I wanted to know what he said, but during this Q&A with Ross, he mentioned something really, really interesting about this because we've been talking about the potential countries that could have some sort of reverse engineering program. And the only countries that are usually mentioned are the US, China, and Russia. But today, Ross Coulthart decided to name a new one. And you guessed it. Let me show it to you guys. So here it is. And shout out to Neanderthal for clipping this, but I'm going to leave links to the full Q&A in the description. Here it is.
I don't know if it's Elon, but there are certainly private aerospace companies, and I know their names. This is the frustrating thing. I know their names. I know the principals involved, the executives who direct it. I even know some of the government officials who are involved in the coordination. And so does the Congress. They've been given these names by witnesses. There is a program working with retrieved non-human technology right now in the United States. And one of the reasons they're so secretive about it is because the Russians and the Chinese have exactly the same program. And as David Grush told me in his interview nearly 2 years ago, David referred to the fact that there is a Cold War going on. There is a fight between adversary nations, Russia, China, and the United States. And I suspect nobody's saying this publicly yet, but I'll say it, Israel. I suspect that these countries are all involved in a battle to secure the knowledge behind retrieved non-human technology. And the great tragedy is, if they were more open and shared it with the world, and if we went through the kind of spiritual understanding of what the phenomenon is, I think we would make progress a hell of a lot quicker than we have done to date. Because I'm told that, yes, whilst we've learned how to engage human consciousness with this technology, the answer is staring us in the face. It's in our minds. What the problem is that this is not a technology as we understand it or that we can comprehend. It's certainly a technology. It's just so incredibly advanced. The only way that we've learned how to engage with it is through consciousness. And the idea of actually constructing it or having the material science abilities to build it is at the moment, I'm told, beyond us. Yes, we've been able to replicate certain technologies from it. And I think the Michael Herrera account of an alien reproduction vehicle that was clearly human constructed is something that people should all be taking a very close look at. There is so obviously a corporation operating in secret, and I think it's being used by the US government to try and conceal this technology from the American public, even though billions of dollars, probably trillions of dollars of US dollars, taxpayer money, have been spent on it. I just think it's utterly immoral and appalling that this isn't being revealed to the public, and it should be, and hopefully it soon will.
Yeah. So he mentions Israel. I found that really interesting because uh, let's just look at what Haim Eshed said back then in this article from NBC News. Um, the date is December 8th, 2020. I don't know if you guys are going to be able to read this. I hope so. But here it is. Title is Former Israeli Space Security Chief says extraterrestrials exist and Trump knows about it. And this is where this concept keeps coming back. Haim Eshed has an impressive resume, but I do still struggle with him mentioning the Galactic Federation. It's a troubling one for me, really, because a lot of the like misinformation that has gone through all of the channels mentioned this Galactic Federation too. And it's a concept that is even embedded in science fiction in the US. So I do have problems with it, but his position is pretty high. So let me read it to you. He says, a galactic federation has been waiting for humans to reach a stage where we will understand what space and spaceships are, Haim Eshed said. A former Israeli space security chief has sent eyebrows shooting heavenward by saying that Earthlings have been in contact with extraterrestrials from a quote unquote galactic federation. He says, the unidentified flying objects have asked not to publish what they are, that they are here. Humanity is not ready yet. Haim Eshed, former head of Israel's Defense Ministry Space Directorate, told Israel's Yediot Aharonot newspaper. The interview in Hebrew ran on Friday and gained traction after parts were published in English by the Jerusalem Post on Tuesday. A respected professor and retired general, Eschet, said that the aliens were equally curious about humanity and were seeking to understand the fabric of the universe. Eschet said cooperation agreements have been signed between species, including an underground base in the depths of Mars, where there are American astronauts and alien representatives. He says there is an agreement between the US government and the aliens. They signed a contract with us to do experiments here, said Esched. Esched added that President Donald Trump was aware of the extraterrestrials' existence and had been on the verge of revealing information, but was asked not to do it in order to prevent mass hysteria, quote unquote. He says, they have been waiting until today for humanity to develop and reach a stage where we will understand in general what space and spaceships are, Esched said, referring to the Galactic Federation. The White House and Israeli officials did not immediately respond to NBC News' request for comment. Susan Goff, in 2020, guys, a spokesperson for the Pentagon, declined to comment. A spokesperson for NASA said one of the agency's key goals was the search for life in the universe and that it had yet to find signs of extraterrestrial life. And I quote, although we have yet to find signs of extraterrestrial life, NASA is exploring the solar system and beyond to help us answer fundamental questions, including whether we're alone in the universe, the spokesperson said in a statement. Eschet's ideas are spelled out in more detail in The Universe Beyond the Horizon Conversations with Professor Haim Eshed by Hagar Yanai, published in November. Eshed, who oversaw the launch of numerous Israeli satellites into space, said he was only speaking out now because attitudes were changing and people seemed more receptive. And I quote, if I had come up with what I'm saying today 5 years ago, I would have been hospitalized, end quote. He told Yedia. And I quote again, today, they're already talking differently. I have nothing to lose. I've received my degrees and awards. I am respected in universities abroad, end quote. In May, Trump said, and I quote, space is going to be the future, both in terms of defense and offense. We're now the leader on space, end quote, as he was presented with the official flag of a newly created military branch, Space Force. Its focus, along with Space Command, is on space as military domain for the US, preserving satellites and communications, and a focus on geopolitics in new terrain. Eschet's comments immediately spawned jokes, theories online. At least half a dozen accounts have been created on Twitter claiming to be representatives of to Earth from the Galactic Federation. Other users have asked for preferential treatment and meetings with the other worldly group. Nick Pope, who used to investigate UFOs for the British Army of Defense, described Eschet's remarks as extraordinary. And I quote, either this is some sort of practical joke or publicity stunt to help sell his book, perhaps with something having been lost in translation, or someone in the know is breaking ranks, he said. Pope said on the UFO and conspiracy theory community was excited, but that questions remained, including whether or not Eschet was speaking from direct personal knowledge and experience or whether he's repeating something he has been told. There are still some missing pieces of the puzzle here, he said. So, this is the original article and could be a clue of what is might be going on. I don't know if that's real, to be honest with you. As I told you, I still struggled with it, but I found it really interesting, and I'm gonna show Mr. Eschet here. I found it very interesting that Ross is now mentioning Israel directly. So I'm guessing that him, Colonel Karl Nell, as you guys saw, take his words seriously. But I still need to look into more data, and I don't know. I can't make like a have an opinion on it yet, to be honest with you. But it does make sense that a country as influential as Israel has more access to things like these. It makes sense. Look at the history, and you will agree with me, I think. But at least for now, this is what I wanted to talk to you guys about. What do you think about Israel's potential involvement in all of this? And What do you think about Haim Eshed's statements? I know that they've been disputed a long time, but there seem to be a lot of serious people who agree that they believe he thinks or he believes he's telling the truth, which is where I stand. I think he believes what he's saying, but whether that's real or not, we would have to ask him more questions, I guess. And what do you think about, because this is something that I've been hearing about, this potential involvement of Israel and the other countries? I think that the nation of Israel is acting partly because of some ancient scripture, you know? I've been hearing this in the back channels for a while now. So I don't know if some people within the Israeli government or the religion even are convinced that the story that they tell in their ancient scripture is completely real, 100%. They interpret it as something like intergalactic or something like that, you know? If that is the case, that's a bit concerning too, because in this channel, I've spoken before about being careful with dogmatic approaches. I'm not saying that I don't believe, just saying that we need to be careful with that because that was originally just translated from something else, at least the stuff that is before the times of Christ and all of that stuff. But yeah, you can tell that I'm pretty ignorant when it comes to religion, but I am curious. So that's why I'm asking. If you guys want to talk about the topic in general, how much does Israel know about the phenomenon in UFOs? You can tell me in the comments. I'll be learning because I don't know anything about that. But it is curious, and I wanted to talk about it a little bit and gauge your opinions too. So let me know. If you like the content you see, please like, share, comment, subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you can get notified when new video drops. If you want to support the channel in any other way, you can become a member. You can check us out on KGRA, or you can pick a link. Every help you send is always appreciated. So thank you. And let me know what you think about the whole Q&A with Ross. Check it out. I'll leave it in the description. Thank you for the support. That's it for me today on this video, but I'll see you in the next one. Remember to stay curious. Remember to stay inquisitive. Bye.